Scituate, welcome to November. A beautiful day here in Scituate. We've got a lot to go over. My name is Jim Boudreau. I'm the town administrator. With me is Superintendent of Schools, Bill Burkett. I will do an update quickly, and then I'll pass it over to Bill to update everybody on what's going on in the school department. Water main work continues on Brook Street. We are closed from Tilden and Front Street. That work is getting near the end. However, people will see crews this afternoon on Front Street by the Lucky Fin. We have a critical gate valve in that area that needs to be replaced. They'll do the prep work this evening, and then tonight after 11:30, if necessary, they will shut the water off to replace that gate valve. We will wait until all the restaurants and the businesses in the area are closed before doing that work. So hopefully we won't need to, but that is what will occur tonight if necessary. Water department water demand is down again, 1.12 million gallons. We seem to be staying in that range, which is good. The reservoir went from minus 7.55 inches last week to plus 8 inches as of today. All the rain we got over the weekend, we got more than 4 inches of rain over the last week at the treatment plant. So we do have plenty of water in our reservoir. We are continuing the pilot program for the water treatment plant down there. COVID cases for the past week was 17. That was up 1 from 16. The positivity rating was at 1.92, up slightly from 1.69. Plymouth County's at 3.12, up from 3.11 of the previous week. Weather State's at 1.73, down very slightly from 1.78 of last week. So the numbers seem to be holding in that range. We would like to see them go down a little bit, but as long as they're not going up, we'll be happy. So please, if you haven't got vaccinated, please do so. The CDC has given out guidance on booster shots. They are available at this point for people who want to get a booster shot. Moderna and Pfizer, people over 65, people with comorbidities are eligible for a booster, and people who are in high risk industries that deal with people and are exposed to COVID on a daily basis. Anyone who received a Johnson & Johnson shot is eligible for a booster right from the start, a second shot. And you can mix and match shots at this point. You don't have to get the same shot. It is recommended that you get the same shot, but you can mix and match. Paving on First Parish Road is scheduled for this week. We expect to see the contractor there tomorrow, raising the castings. That'll take a couple of days, and after that, we will do the final paving. Wooders Walk Clubhouse work continues. If you get down there, you'll see they're starting inside the building. The walkway was poured. Again, the parking lot is done, so it's really starting to look the way it should. You should also see landscaping starting over the next couple of days. Most people are aware Scituate was hit with a fairly severe northeaster last week. We had anticipated wind gusts up to 70 miles an hour. Officially, we had wind gusts of 87 miles an hour. Unofficially, on Fourth Cliff, we had a gust up to 97 miles an hour. At one point, the entire town of Scituate, both Scituate proper and Hummerock, were 100% without power. Power crews worked continuously over the weekend and over the week to repair significant damage, tree damage, wind damage, pole damage throughout the town to get everybody back and running. Hummerock was back up Saturday afternoon. The vast majority of Scituate proper was back up by Saturday evening. Unfortunately, we did have some people who got their power back on Saturday evening, lose it overnight on Saturday when that heavy rain came through, but we were able to get that back up on Sunday. And the last customer in Scituate was reconnected around 2:30 yesterday afternoon. I want to thank Engrid, Eversource for all their work. They worked tirelessly to get the power back on, especially Peter Duggan, our Engrid representative. Peter comes in, spends time with the public safety crews and with our emergency management team to track outages, track priorities, to find out problems, to make sure we find everything and get everybody back up. Police and fire handled an incredible amount of calls during the storm and after the storm. They did a fantastic job as always. And the DPW crews worked over the weekend to try to clean up as much debris as possible in anticipation of Halloween last night and the reopening of schools this morning. So really, everybody's worked tremendously hard. People are tired. We're still out there cleaning up. We were lucky it was a low tide for this storm. If it had been a high tide, we would have had significant flooding issues and damage. At this point, we are tracking a potential storm for next weekend that will coincide with high tides. Too early really to see where that's going to go. We will keep you informed if that goes anywhere. Related to the storm and restorations of power, the building department and the electrical inspector are waiving the requirement for electrical permits and inspections in cases where National Grid personnel are reconnecting services and/or performing other necessary work needed to energize customers who sustained damage from the storm last week. The waiver is based on the condition that any reconnection or other work must be deemed safe and performed in a proper and workmanlike manner. The waiver expires at midnight, November 5th. So this is to help people who might have had their service taken off their house or the wire taken down. Normally, you would require to come in and get a wiring permit and have the wiring inspector come out and inspect that. But rather than hold everybody up and stop the pace of restoration, we'll waive that requirement as long as you're having a professional licensed electrician do the work and National Grid inspects it before it gets re-energized. So thanks to the building inspector for that. That's helped people get back up much quicker than possible. After a weather delay, we did have the auction of the Minot Fire Station last Thursday at 11 a.m. We had a very large crowd there, despite the fact that there was still power. The bidding was brisk, and the high bid for that station was $585,000. That's a great number. It's more than I thought. I lost my bet on what that would be, so it was higher than I thought. That money now will be allocated towards reducing the debt on the senior center, as was voted by town meeting when we made that property surplus. Finally, town meeting was Tuesday night last week. I know a lot of people questioned why we were having town meeting prior to the storm, with the storm coming in. It was very important that we have town meeting because the voters had to vote on whether or not to fund the purchase of the Border Street fields before the expiration of the town's right of first refusal, which is actually this week. So we had that town meeting, despite the rain, despite the wind. 702 people showed up at town meeting to practice democracy at its finest, and they voted to fund the Border Street fields, and that will now be on the Board of Selectmen's agenda for tomorrow night. So at this point, I'm going to actually turn it over to Mr. Vignani.
Thanks, Jim. I'll mention a few things at the end, but Bill, do you want to add on to the school stuff?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Vignani. So I'll start off with good morning, everybody. Bill Burkett, Superintendent. Glad to be here this morning, and we'll start off with our health and wellness update as far as COVID numbers. Since last week, the school department has reported 3 cases, which is down from 6 last week. Next, I want to give one of our sailor shout outs to all the members of the emergency management team, which I was invited to be part of this last week during the storm, including Mr. Boudreau, Police Chief Thompson, Fire Chief Murphy, Kevin Cafferty, Kevin Kelly, Peter Duggan, as Mr. Boudreau has stated. And if I missed anyone, my apologies, but those meetings were constant. The outcomes of those meetings left me as the leader of the school district in a good place to make decisions, including the safety of our students and staff. So I want to thank them. I also want to thank the communication I thought was outstanding going out to the community. So kudos to all. It was handled extremely well, in my opinion. I also want to thank the boots on the ground, Bob Dillon, our Assistant Facilities Director, Mike Breen, as well as all our utility workers and our DPW for their efforts around the clock. Just truly amazing from when I was driving around the day after the storm to today. And our kids are safely in school. And so thanks to all of you. So thank you all for your work, and to our community for your patience. Losing power is frustrating, and not having access to school is tough. But I think based on the information we had, we made the right decisions and kept everybody safe. I want to give a shout out to our football team. The Scituate High Sailors notched another championship this year by defeating Plymouth South 21-0 on Friday. So stay tuned for that playoff information, as well as other sports that have made the playoffs. We're having a great fall season. So great jobs getting those games in over the weekend. Tonight we have a school committee meeting at 6 p.m. Hoping you all can make it. Some highlights will be, we have a Celebrate Student Learning section to kick off the meeting with our Fine Arts Department with Mr. Jim Thomas. Our medical advisory update I'll be providing with the new face covering guidance from the Commissioner of Education that just came out. The superintendent report will include an overview of academic excellence, and our Assistant Superintendent and Business and Finance Director will also give updates this evening. And finally, we will give an update on some of our progress in technology initiatives. And finally, I just want to give an update on my in-class visits. I was invited to Jenkins School and last week to visit Miss Gracia's second grade class. They were completing project-based learning projects on planning and designing and then advertising haunted houses. So time appropriate, and their objective was to sell me on their concept of the haunted house. I just had a really good time in there. The kids are working together, collaborating, working hard, having fun, and I just really enjoyed my time there. So I want to give them all a shout out as well. That's all I have today. Everyone have a great week.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
I will repeat some of the real important things that the previous Jim and Bill just said. Huge kudos out to our team for getting us through this storm. I sat in many of the emergency meetings, and it was just held in such a professional manner. All of our public safety officials, all of our maintenance people, all of our DPW people, and Jim and Bill all just worked in perfect unison to make the right decisions for our town. And National Grid, you know, it's very, very frustrating not having power. I was one of the last ones to come back on, but National Grid worked their tail off for us for 4 or 5 days to do whatever they could to get us up as quickly. And it was a big, big problem. It wasn't just a Scituate problem. It was getting those feeder lines in from the towns before us that had problems. So everyone did a great job. I'm so proud of the work everybody did. And Chief Murphy, you know, mentioned what Jim just mentioned. We're just lucky that the tides were in our favor. In addition, I want to thank all the people for coming out to special town meeting. Although it was a short one, it was great to see the turnout. We did vote on a number of things that were important, namely the school moving forward, and a bunch of CPC articles, one of them being Border Street. And the town select board will vote on that tonight about the right of first refusal. But the town was pretty adamant about what they wanted to do with that property. So thank you for showing up for that. Other than that, I'm sure we got a busy week of cleanup still ahead of us. And tune into our meeting tomorrow night at 6:30 for anything else to be updated.